Loneliness exists at every level of life because it is not created by what we own, but by what we lack emotionally. People often assume that financial success, social status, or public admiration naturally lead to happiness and fulfillment, yet loneliness quietly proves otherwise. A broke single father may feel alone because of constant struggle, rejection, or exhaustion, while a billionaire CEO may feel the same emptiness despite having access to everything money can buy. The pain feels different on the surface, but at its core, loneliness is the absence of genuine connection, understanding, and presence. It does not check bank balances before entering a life, nor does it respect titles, achievements, or power. For someone struggling financially, loneliness often grows from responsibility and pressure. A single father may spend every day fighting to survive, working long hours, sacrificing personal dreams, and putting his child first. In doing so, he slowly loses space for friendships, romance, or self-expression. Society may see him as weak, unsuccessful, or invisible, which deepens his isolation. Rejection, such as a blind date not showing up, reinforces the feeling that he is unworthy of attention or love. His loneliness is loud, stressful, and constantly reminding him of what he lacks, both materially and emotionally. On the other side, the billionaire CEO experiences loneliness in a quieter but equally heavy form. Surrounded by people, meetings, and praise, he may still feel unseen. Relationships in his life are often transactional, driven by opportunity, status, or benefit. Genuine conversations become rare, trust becomes difficult, and vulnerability feels dangerous. When someone fails to show up for him, it confirms a fear he already carries, that people value his success more than his humanity. His loneliness is hidden behind tailored suits, luxury cars, and confident smiles, making it harder for others to recognize or empathize with. What makes loneliness universal is that it stems from emotional disconnection rather than external circumstances. Human beings crave to be heard, understood, and accepted without conditions. When those needs are unmet, the mind creates distance, even in crowded rooms or successful lives. A poor man may feel isolated because he feels forgotten, while a rich man may feel isolated because he feels used. The emotions differ in context but mirror each other in depth. Both may lie awake at night questioning their worth, wondering why connection feels so far away despite their efforts. Loneliness also grows from expectations imposed by society. The struggling father is expected to be strong, resilient, and selfless, leaving little room for him to admit emotional pain. The billionaire is expected to be confident, powerful, and untouchable, making vulnerability seem like weakness. These expectations trap both men in silence. When emotions are suppressed, loneliness intensifies because it removes the possibility of being truly known by another person. In moments where two people from vastly different worlds connect, loneliness becomes visible as a shared human experience. A simple sentence, a glance, or a moment of honesty can break the illusion that suffering belongs only to one class of people. When status fades and vulnerability speaks, it reveals that loneliness does not discriminate. It travels freely across economic boundaries, age, and success, attaching itself to anyone who feels unseen, unheard, or emotionally distant from others, waiting quietly for connection to interrupt its hold. Unexpected connections often carry a power that carefully planned meetings rarely achieve because they are free from expectations, roles, and performance. When people plan encounters, they usually arrive wearing masks, shaped by what they want to gain, impress, or protect. Blind dates, business meetings, and formal introductions are often loaded with pressure, assumptions, and silent calculations. In contrast, unplanned connections arise in moments of vulnerability, disappointment, or honesty, when defenses are lowered and authenticity has space to breathe. These moments do not ask people to be impressive, they invite them to be real. When a planned meeting fails, such as a blind date that never shows up, it creates emotional openness. Disappointment strips away confidence and replaces it with humility. In that state, people are more eager to speak honestly, listen deeply, and connect without judgment. An unexpected conversation born from shared frustration can bypass the superficial layers that usually block genuine connection. There is no script, no agenda, and no image to maintain. What remains is a raw human exchange that often feels more meaningful than any interaction carefully arranged in advance. Destiny shifts in these moments. because people meet as equals rather than roles. A single father is not presenting himself as someone to be evaluated or accepted. A billionaire is not asserting authority or success. Both are simply people experiencing the same emotional gap. That shared emotional ground becomes more powerful than shared interests, backgrounds, or goals. It creates trust quickly because it is rooted in truth rather than performance. Many life-changing relationships begin not with perfect timing, but with broken plans and unexpected pauses. Planned meetings are usually limited by intention. People go into them seeking specific outcomes: love, profit, approval, or opportunity. When those expectations dominate, curiosity shrinks. Unexpected encounters, however, expand perspective because they arrive without purpose. They allow space for surprise, empathy, and transformation. A brief conversation with a stranger can challenge beliefs, soften hardened views, or inspire new direction in ways that months of planned interaction never could. There is also a psychological shift that happens during unexpected connections. When something unplanned occurs, the mind becomes more present. Attention sharpens because the moment feels rare and unscripted. People listen differently, respond more thoughtfully, and remember the interaction longer. This heightened awareness allows ideas, emotions, and insights to sink deeper. A single sentence spoken at the right unexpected moment can alter how someone sees their life, their struggles, or their worth. Unexpected connections often change destinies because they introduce people to perspectives they would never intentionally seek. A wealthy executive may never choose to sit with a struggling parent, just as a struggling parent may never expect to speak honestly with someone of extreme power. When chance brings them together, it disrupts social boundaries and challenges internal narratives. These encounters expand empathy and remind people that growth often comes from contrast rather than comfort. Life rarely changes through perfectly executed plans alone. Plans operate within what is already known and predictable. Unexpected connections operate in uncertainty, where imagination, compassion, and possibility thrive. They open doors that logic never considered and paths that intention never mapped. Many turning points in life do not arrive as achievements or milestones, but as conversations that were never supposed to happen, with people who were never meant to matter, at moments that seemed insignificant at the time. Judgment fades. Vulnerability speaks first because vulnerability disarms the instinct to compare, categorize, and protect the ego. Most judgments are formed quickly based on surface-level information such as appearance, status, confidence, or perceived success. The human mind relies on shortcuts to make sense of others, often placing them into boxes before understanding their reality. These judgments act as barriers, keeping people emotionally distant and reinforcing separation. Vulnerability, however, interrupts this process by shifting the focus from evaluation to empathy. When someone opens up first, especially in a moment of weakness or honesty, it creates a psychological pause. Instead of asking, "Who is this person?" the listener begins asking, "What are they feeling?" This shift is powerful because emotions are universal, while status and circumstance are not. A vulnerable statement signals trust, and trust naturally invites care. Even someone inclined to judge finds it difficult to remain detached when faced with genuine emotion, because the brain recognizes sincerity as a cue for safety rather than threat. Vulnerability also removes the illusion of superiority or inferiority. Judgment thrives in comparison, but vulnerability collapses hierarchy. When a person admits fear, disappointment, or pain, they momentarily step out of their role and reveal their humanity. In that moment, the listener is no longer interacting with a label such as poor, rich, successful, or failed, but with a fellow human being experiencing something familiar. Shared emotional recognition replaces judgment with understanding. Another reason vulnerability weakens judgment is that it invites reflection rather than reaction. Judging someone allows the observer to feel in control, protected from discomfort. Vulnerability challenges that comfort by exposing truths the listener may recognize in themselves. When someone speaks openly about rejection, loneliness, or insecurity, it often mirrors feelings the listener has experienced but hidden. This recognition softens defenses and replaces criticism with compassion, because judging the other would mean judging oneself. Vulnerability also changes the tone of interaction. Conversations driven by confidence or authority often create distance as they encourage comparison and resistance. Vulnerability, by contrast, creates warmth and openness. It signals that the conversation is not a competition or negotiation, but a shared space. In this environment, people feel safer expressing their own uncertainties, which deepens mutual understanding. As vulnerability moves back and forth, judgment has no room to grow. Importantly, vulnerability does not require weakness in character, it requires courage. When someone chooses honesty over image, it commands respect at a deeper level than status ever could. The listener may still notice differences in background or circumstance, but those differences lose importance. Emotional truth becomes the dominant lens through which the person is seen. Judgment fades because it no longer serves a purpose. It cannot add value to a moment grounded in authenticity. Over time, interactions that begin with vulnerability tend to build stronger connections. People remember how they felt, not what they evaluated. A single vulnerable moment can override years of prejudice or assumptions because it humanizes the individual beyond stereotypes. When vulnerability speaks first, it reshapes perception, turning strangers into equals and replacing judgment with empathy, presence, and genuine connection. Shared disappointment can create powerful bonds because it instantly establishes common ground between people who might otherwise feel worlds apart. Disappointment is a universal emotion. Everyone experiences it in some form, whether through failed expectations, missed opportunities, or personal setbacks. Unlike success or wealth, which can separate individuals into social hierarchies, disappointment is inherently relatable. When two people realize they are experiencing a similar letdown, it forms a subtle but meaningful connection that bypasses surface differences like status, background, or lifestyle. When a blind date doesn't show up, for instance, the immediate reaction is often frustration, embarrassment, or sadness. But if two people in the same situation notice each other, something remarkable can happen. Their mutual disappointment becomes a bridge. Suddenly, the experience that have felt isolating transforms into a shared story. Instead of sitting alone with frustration, they recognize that someone else is feeling exactly what they are feeling. This recognition creates empathy and softens emotional barriers, allowing conversations and connections that would not have happened otherwise. Shared disappointment also allows people to be authentic without fear of judgment. When everyone around us seems to be succeeding, or when social norms pressure us to appear composed and content, disappointment is often hidden. People feel vulnerable admitting that things did not go as planned. But when another person is visibly experiencing the same setback, the mask of perfection is no longer necessary. This mutual honesty fosters trust because both parties understand that neither is pretending and that neither is alone in their struggle. The connection becomes genuine, not transactional. Another powerful aspect of shared disappointment is that it equalizes relationships. In many social situations, differences in wealth, power, or prestige create subtle imbalances. But disappointment does not discriminate. A billionaire missing a blind date and a single father being stood up share the same emotional reality. Both feel let down, both are navigating unfulfilled expectations, and both face the quiet sting of being overlooked. In that shared space, neither is superior, and both are equally human. This equality strengthens bonds because it creates a safe environment. Where empathy can flourish. Shared disappointment can also spark humor, storytelling, and resilience. When two people acknowledge the absurdity or irony of their situation together, laughter or reflection can emerge. This shared emotional experience often becomes a foundation for memory and deeper connection. They remember not the wealth, social status, or appearance of the other person, but the feeling of being understood, of being seen in a moment of vulnerability. Over time, this can evolve into long-lasting friendship, mentorship, or even romantic connection, because the bond was forged in truth rather than superficial circumstances. Ultimately, shared disappointment is powerful because it highlights the universality of human experience. While people often focus on differences, what separates a billionaire from a single parent, a successful person from someone struggling, disappointment reminds us that certain emotions transcend social, economic, and cultural boundaries. When two people encounter the same letdown, it can be the spark that ignites understanding, trust, and emotional closeness, creating a connection far deeper than ordinary interactions ever could. It proves that vulnerability and authenticity, even born from disappointment, have the power to unite lives. Human connection is more valuable than status or wealth, because no amount of money, titles, or power can replace the deep sense of being seen, understood, and emotionally supported. While society often measures success by material achievements, the most meaningful moments in life arise from relationships, shared experiences, and emotional bonds. People may admire a billionaire's lifestyle or a celebrity's fame, but admiration alone cannot fill the emptiness caused by isolation, loneliness, or lack of genuine interaction. True fulfillment comes not from what we possess, but from how deeply we connect with others. Wealth can provide comfort, access, and influence, but it cannot guarantee companionship, trust, or empathy. A billionaire CEO might have luxury cars, private jets, and opulent homes, yet still feel a void in intimate, sincere human relationships. On the other hand, a single father with very little material wealth may feel richer when he experiences kindness, understanding, or shared laughter with someone who truly cares. This contrast highlights the fundamental truth: status and wealth are external markers, whereas connection satisfies an internal, emotional need that is far more essential to well-being. Human connection is also a source of resilience. Challenges, failures, and hardships are part of life for everyone, regardless of social or financial status. People who have strong connections with family, friends, or even unexpected acquaintances are better equipped to cope with stress, overcome adversity, and find meaning in difficult situations. A single dad, for instance, may face financial struggles and social pressures, but the encouragement of someone who empathizes with his struggles can lift him far more than money ever could. Similarly, a lonely billionaire may discover that heartfelt conversation or mutual understanding is more sustaining than any luxury. The value of human connection becomes especially clear in moments of vulnerability. When individuals open up about fears, disappointments, or dreams, the walls of status, wealth, or social expectation fall away. What remains is pure, honest interaction. A billionaire and a single father may have nothing in common materially, but if they share a quiet moment of understanding, that connection can feel profound and transformative. Emotional bonds forged in vulnerability cannot be bought. They must be earned through presence, attention, and authenticity. Human connection also leaves a lasting impact that wealth cannot replicate. Material possessions can be lost, forgotten, or outgrown, but memories of shared experiences, trust, and emotional support endure. People remember how they felt in the presence of another person more than they remember possessions or titles. A moment of empathy, kindness, or shared laughter can influence someone's life trajectory, inspire new perspectives, and even create life-changing relationships. This enduring impact demonstrates that connection carries intrinsic value far beyond what money or status can offer. Ultimately, while society often emphasizes external success, true fulfillment is rooted in relationships. A lonely billionaire and a struggling single father might live in completely different worlds, but when they find genuine connection, it transcends every social barrier. Connection provides understanding, comfort, resilience, and joy that no amount of wealth or prestige can replicate. It reminds us that human experience is shared, that emotional presence matters more than material accumulation, and that the most valuable aspects of life are measured not in money, but in hearts touched, lives changed, and bonds formed. In the end, it is the depth of human connection that makes life truly rich.